Hafide, good evening, and thanks for tuning in to PNC's News Now. I'm Janella Carrera.
And I'm Clint Rogel. Thanks for tuning in. Topping your news tonight. The legislature held a public hearing on Senator Frank Ogden Jr.'s bill to repeal raises for senators. There were a lot of people who signed up to testify, including one man who said he is in favor of the raises.
Mark Paps Martinez said lawmakers deserve their raises because Guam operates on a unicameral system, which means there is only one lawmaking body. Martinez says this means that Guam lawmakers have more responsibilities and more work to do than stateside legislators.
In the states, you have school boards, many school boards, town councils, city councils, county councils, that are mini legislators because they have the authority to make ordinances, which are like laws, raise taxes, and spend tax dollars. We don't have that out there, so you have extra duties. So you should be paid this high. So I favor paying you $85,000.
Martinez pointed out that it's not only lawmakers on Guam who gave themselves raises, but the governor, lieutenant governor, and cabinet members as well.
And I'm tired of senators always being picked on. When everybody else gets a pay raise, everybody shuts up, especially the media. You people just shut up.
Bobby Shringi said he would like to see increments repealed for the governor, lieutenant governor, and senators, but not for cabinet members.
The retroactive payments for the salary increments of the 17 elected officials amount to $425,000. This is not chump change. And are monies that could have been used to address a number of community-based priorities, including the homeless problem, the lack of resources in the classrooms, hiring of more police officers, medication for GMH, and the list can go on and on and on.
Andre Bainum is a member of the group called Guamanians for a Fair Government, a group that garnered nearly 1,500 signatures demanding the repeal of these raises.
Unfortunately, on November 21, the governor and this legislature removed the quality of altruism from public service and replaced it with a selfishness never seen before in the history of our island.
Vice Speaker B.J. Cruz has told PNC News that he will be able to report this bill out of committee in time to get it onto the agenda for the last session lawmakers are planning on holding before making way for the 33rd Guam legislature.
And on Saturday, the Guam Police Department arrested 2 minors for stealing a car and stealing beer. The 17-year-olds allegedly stole beer from the mobile gas station across from Adelup at 5:45 in the morning. According to police, suspects fled in a stolen vehicle along Route 1 before hitting a motorcyclist on Route 4 by Island Fresh. Officers then chased them into Maimai Road, Chalampago, where they crashed near a home and fled on foot. One suspect was apprehended riding a bicycle that he stole in the area, and the other was apprehended at his home. Both are confined at DYA, and the motorcyclist was treated for his injuries at the scene. Also on Saturday, a Pohnpeian man named Benster Benjamin was arrested for shooting his CO2 BB gun at a bouncer at Sassy's Lounge. According to police, the bouncer was trying to break up a fight between 2 couples. Benjamin allegedly tried to punch the bouncer, and when the bouncer defended himself, the suspect pulled out a CO2 BB gun and began shooting at the bouncer. Police say Benjamin then fled on foot into the jungle by Sikat Street, where he was eventually booked and confined.
The Concerned Catholics of Guam is demanding an apology from Archbishop Anthony Aparon for referring to them as a group that is plotting against the church. The group held a press conference today saying they are appalled that the Archbishop would refer to them that way, as their objective is to assist the church in healing the division within the Catholic community. The reference was allegedly made in a letter Archbishop Aparon wrote to Deacon Steve Martinez last week, demanding that the deacon cut ties with CCOG or face censorship.
And we wanted to bring this to the attention of the media and the public that this is wrong. We are not plotting against this church. We love our church. We want to help her. Is this group really plotting against the church, and that is why Deacon Steve is being asked to step down and face censorship? That is not true. So if he is censured, he's being censured on false claims, because we have been very transparent about our organization. We have requested to meet with the Archbishop.
The organization also has an online petition that calls for Archbishop Aparon to pay attention to the concerns of the group. It can be found online at concernedcatholicsofguam.org.
Guam is seeing history come alive through an ancient relic that has just returned to Guam 330 years later. It's the skull of Padre Manuel de Solorzano, a Jesuit priest who was killed by Chamorro men in 1684.
Bring in and open these memories for the people of Guam. Right?
There is a rich history behind Father Manuel de Solorzano, a 17th century Jesuit priest who was killed on Guam, as his life not only documents his Catholic mission to evangelize the people of the Marianas, but also his observations of the ancient Chamorro that many only hear about through legends. His descendant, Dr. Manuel Lopez Casquetti, brought his skull back to Guam yesterday, 330 years after it left the island. He shares his thoughts on reuniting his ancestors' remains with the land that took his life.
Till this moment, I have had two very emotional moments. First of them was when we were landing. I mean, we were landing with a human remain from someone who died here 3 centuries and a half ago. Also for me, it's very important that they came here moved by love.
And that was the inspiration for Father Solorzano's mission to Guam, one that we really only read about in biblical text. History scholar from Spain, Dr. Andres Oyola Fabian, says there was at one point when Father Solorzano went missing in Spain. He was later found praying in a church in Granada with a choir. That's where Father Solorzano's journey to Guam began.
Él tuvo la vocación, la inspiración de que quería ser misionero en las Islas Marianas y no en otro sitio.
He had the conviction and the inspiration that has to be a missionary in the Mariana Islands and not any other place.
Y segundo, quería lograr de Dios el martirio.
And second, he asked from God martyrdom.
Father Solorzano came to Guam around 1675. According to historical reports, Father Solorzano was killed by Chamorro men in defense of their island, much in the same way Father Diego Luis de San Vitores met his death 12 years earlier. Although close-up shots are not being allowed of Father Solorzano's skull, University of Guam professor David Atienza says his remains were authenticated a few years after his death when his body was exhumed.
Also, we know it's him because we can see in the skull, from an anthropological point of view, we see the cut. It belongs to a 30 or around 30 years old man, and has the cuts of the machete that match perfectly with the chronicle of the time, how he died.
In addition to the human remains of a priest who seemed to live only in history books, over 200 pages of letters were also returned to Guam. Well preserved as well, these original letters were mostly written by Father Solorzano to his own father. And in fascinating detail, some letters are even written in Chamorro.
But from a historical point of view, it's unique. We have a real presence